Welcome to the Collective Genius Podcast, the show for real estate investors who are looking to scale.
Welcome into another week of the Collective Genius Podcast, the podcast for real estate investors that want to continue to grow and scale their businesses. And you do not need to adjust your radio dial. I am still Leon Barnes, the voice. I sound worse than I feel. Some people on Team CG told me today, Adam, that they like this voice better. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce our next guest, longtime CG member, friend, just someone that always brings a lot of energy, competitive hockey player, just always is competing at whatever he's doing. Please welcome in longtime CG member, Mr. Adam Devine. Welcome in, my friend.
Leon, my man, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Looking forward to chopping it up.
I'm looking forward to it as well. My New England friend, we've had Joe Terrio on the show. We've had CJ Moss, all the guys up in New England. So I figured if we had those guys on, we had to have Adam on. So welcome in. You've got a great story that I'd love to share with all the listeners and those that are in the business or those that are trying to get in the business. Would love I'm excited to learn more, even though I know a bunch of your story and share your story. But let's start with this. We know you're based in New England. What is it that you do, and what areas do you cover?
Yeah, so we are based out of Cheshire, Connecticut, and we cover all of Connecticut and a big portion of Massachusetts. We don't go into the city of Boston. We stay outside of that. And we are a home buying company, right? We buy and resell homes, simple as that. We don't do fix and flip too much. We don't do rental properties. We've exited that. We've learned from the various CG members that have been down that road, including ourselves. Not saying that rentals are a bad thing. There's plenty of successful individuals that have ran great portfolios. We just weren't one of them, and we acknowledge what we're not good at. So we stick to what we know. We stay in our lane. We stay on the tracks. We're a home buying company here in Connecticut, Massachusetts. We do a little bit in Northeast Pennsylvania. We've been playing in that market since mid-2023. It's been a pretty good place for us, although since actually having Eric Brewer and his team work with us, we've identified that playing in our backyard and going deep is going to be a better route for us as a company for longevity. So we're listening to our coaches, and things have been good. We're happy with what we're doing.
So much good there that we'll get into coaches and defining your marketplace. And I've seen this over the years now. More and more people that were going wider are starting to pull back and go deeper as they become better operators, that they grow and learn lessons. I also wanted to have you on because of what you just said, and you stick to what you know works. For those that have listened for the last few weeks, I've had on members, and there's a bit of a theme that I want to try to get across to what you said. It's not that anything's bad about rental properties or multifamily and all these other things, these shiny objects that a lot of real estate investors go after. Nothing wrong with that. In fact, it's part of a natural evolution for most. But Adam is another member that just keeps the main thing. And I've seen them in a short amount of time, dating back to 6 years ago, when you guys really started this business and getting after it and doubling that business and even quadrupling that business in a short amount of time because you kept the one thing in your main focus. So let's go back before we get into all of that. I love to tell the journey of the entrepreneur in this space. You didn't do anything else before you got into this. You were leaving school and you were interested in real estate. This is basically 2016. You're getting out of school and you are interested in real estate. Why?
Yeah, great question. This is a fun one. I always enjoy telling this story. So to this day, anytime I've ever had a job, including the one that was with my business partner, I've been fired from. Maybe my PI would tell that story and make sense of it. Although I always wanted to do something that was super competitive. And I lost hockey back in 2013. I was told right before going off to school, about a month before, that I'd never play again. And then that hurt. That was tough. I went through a tough patch, several years to deal with that. And I knew that I needed to fill a void and do something competitive that would stimulate me. And I figured, why not make it work? Right? Because if it's what you do for a living, then you don't really work if you love what you do. The old adage, you never work a day in your life if you love what you do. So about 2014, 2015, I start following a guy named Nick Ruiz on Instagram. And he talks about single family triad, how he flips homes, wholesales, and he buys rentals with his profits. And the wholesaling thing really caught my eye, right? I don't like to use the term wholesale. I like to use the term and professionalize it as a home buyer. He talks about buying homes and reselling them for more money. And to me, that really stuck out on how he wasn't taking title to these homes. And for a moment, I thought it was too good to be true. Come to realize this is a real business practice. And as a hardworking kid, I wouldn't put myself at the pedestal of a very intelligent individual. I like to just work really hard with that blue collar work ethic. And I said, I'm going to go out and do this. And I struggled. And funny enough, I continued at it, and I'd get a property under contract and it'd fall apart or something along the lines before the closing where I wasn't getting traction. This is 2016, and I'm reffing a hockey game. And on a Sunday, this is really notable to the story, is that the coach for the team that ends up winning 11-1 is my business partner. And in the first period, he's yelling and screaming, and I look over my shoulder and I'm like, who is this coach? I'm like, oh, it's LaChance. Now, if we take a step back about 7 months, I messaged him previously that year when I finished up school. Hey, I reached out. I saw that he was working at another company. I asked how things were going. Well, a company he helped start, and he never messaged me back. And to me, it was like, all right, no problem, not worth his time. At the end of the game, going back to the game I'm reffing, he doesn't shake my hand at the end of the game. I'm putting the nets up, and the Zamboni's about to come on the ice, and he doesn't shake my hand. So I'm like, all right, do I go over to him? And I'm like, I'm going to do it. I get off the ice. I go up to him. I shake his hand, and he kind of looks at me like fluttered. I'm like, are you Bob LaChance from so-and-so? And his face drops, and so he meets me for coffee, and I join his team over at REVA. I sell for 2 years. He fires me before my 27th birthday. Fast forward 6 months into 2019. Right around Labor Day, he gives me a shout about doing some acquisition work, and the rest is history. We decided in early January to stop treating it as just one-off deals. We turned it into a business, but the pivotal moment was that when I came into the office between Labor Day and January, right before we made it pivotal, I gave Bob a check for $7,000 for commissions that were owed on transactions that either closed when I was a licensed agent. And I said, hey, dude, I owe you this money. And he's like, well, what's this for? I was like, well, these are leads you sent over that closed. I'm just going to pay your referrals. And he found that to be very honorable. Especially in our industry, there aren't too many people that will do the right thing, especially when nobody's looking. We look at his integrity as, are you doing the right thing when nobody's watching? So for me, I felt that I owed him that money because without him, those leads wouldn't have existed for me to close the business. We then said, hey, it's time to turn PerchRock into something special. And that's what it's been every day is sticking to what we know that what we're good at, is acquiring deals, building teams, and being students of the game, right? We know we have a long way to go as operators, and that's the beauty of about being in collective genius, because it humbles you when you walk in the door. You got to be really vulnerable, and every time that we go to an event every 90 days, it's like, hey, something's working, something's not working. We're gonna get hit, and this is gonna be good. So yeah, it's been a fun journey. It's been fun along the way, learning every time we've been able to get in the room with great operators. So we're having a blast, and that's the story.
So, a lot to unpack there. I want to go back to your reffing hockey, and you have your now partner Bob LaChance, who is literally cussing you up and down the ice, if I remember the story correctly, as the official, because apparently you're not doing something right, even though they're up 11-1. That's how competitive Bob is. What was it that, because a lot of people that are listening to this, are looking for people like yourself, that you took a chance, you came up. What do you think it is that Bob saw in you to hire you for REVA Global, which we'll get into in a second, because that was not a home buying business. What was it that you think he saw in you that it went from cursing you to hiring you?
When Bob tells the story, Bob explains it that if this kid had the guts to get yelled at by me and go up to me to ask for an opportunity, and he's willing to take a shot at that, then this kid's willing to make phone calls. And they needed a sale rep, him and his former partner at the time. And I was looking to get great at sales. Like anybody who runs a company or is in a very successful place of leadership, it's likely because of their ability to articulate and communicate with individuals and have that influence. And it was something that I knew that at a young age, that was going to be the biggest attribute to develop that I wanted to gain experience from firsthand success. And for Bob, you'd have to ask him, but my guess would be, based on what he says, is just having guts, right? Willing to put yourself out there, and when you're getting rejection, how do you handle the adversity that's thrown at you? So for me, it's you never take no as an answer, right? You always have to be resilient and persist. And I haven't had a better coach than him, and very thankful. I always say it that if it wasn't for the partnership and his mentorship over the years, like I wouldn't have the success that I have today. And it goes back to being a team, right? He's a hockey guy. I'm a hockey guy. Our best dispo rep, our best acquisition rep, they're hockey guys. And there's something to be said there about that tribal connection, that culture alignment. And, we read each other well. It's, if you look at any great team, right? You look at the Bulls back in the 90s, Jordan knew where his teammates were. He knew how to play with those guys. And for us, I think that's a big attribute to success, is that we're able to just read off of one another. And it's worked. There's a lot for us to get better at, but to get to this point, it's been fun working with a great teammate. And I give a lot of my success and credit to his leadership.
I love hearing you say that. I love we have so many different cultures within the collective genius. There's always that competitive edge. It's not always sports related, but in this particular case, the tribe is a bunch of Northeast hockey guys that have found, their guys, their tribe to build this really impressive company. To go back, you didn't start in buying homes. You were starting with REVA Global. Now, Bob LaChance has been with this organization, Collective Genius, for a very, very long time as a service provider, offering VAs not only for real estate but also in the medical profession. So you were doing inside sales to help place VAs, correct?
Yes.
And that was the first job that you took, and you mentioned that wasn't one that you kept for a long time. What happened there, to much as details as you could give?
Yeah. So when I was working with Bob, they brought me on to do inside sales. And it's funny, I still to this day remember some of the folks that I'd sold that were in CG, right? Old names, Sean McCloskey, Billy Alvaro still in the group. I remember selling one to Mike Fitzgerald, Eric Brewer. And you knew the level of success with the guys that were really hitting it, because they didn't want the sale pitch. They're like, kid, like, here's what my problems are. Get me a virtual assistant. This is what I need. Like, perfect. This is great. So they would send me over the leads. I'd go to road shows. If you remember Think Realty back in the day, they'd fly me to Think Realty. I'd go to local REIA events in addition to the leads that they drove in. So it was fun for me to really practice and learn real estate from talking to other operators. On the side, though, we still generated leads. So we were still doing deals here and there, wholesale, but it was nothing like on a scalable business. Bob did it to just run leads to see how it would work, in our own backyard. And that was good. So I'm having success. I'm growing. I'm really passionate about the business. Bob ended up having a split off with his business partner back in 2018. And when this took place, I stayed on board. I remember we had talked about it, and I had reached out to him about some things that I had noticed as well. And I told him, hey, I'm on board. I'm here. I'm going to be on this team, and you don't have to worry about me. The day before, he spoke with me and those two other people went to go work for the former business partner. And I said, I'm here, man. I'm on board. And I remember watching him fly to the Philippines when everything took place, when him and Beth went over there for 2 weeks, basically no sleep. I still have some of the photos on my phone, which is pretty cool to look back at. And I stayed loyal. I stayed true to the team. We ended up we had a fix and flip going on at the time. We had some wholesale deals, and now we're selling VAs. And I felt that I wanted more for myself. And I figured, why not do it by asking for 50% ownership of a company that I've done nothing to help build? So I went in there and I put a big PowerPoint presentation together, and I sat with Bob on a Saturday, and he goes, what are you asking for? What do you want? I said, I'd like ownership of the company. He goes, you're kidding, right? I said, I'd like 50%. And he starts laughing, and he could tell that I definitely ruffled some feathers, and I actually was ignorant enough to negotiate that, right? As crazy as it sounds, looking back, it's like, yeah, Adam, that you just didn't know what you didn't know. There's the things you know, the things you don't know, the things you don't know, you don't know. And I fell into category 3. And after an hour and a half, we walked out, and he's like, I actually said, I was like, hey, what could I have done better in there? He's like, you could have done a lot better. And Monday was the day before my birthday, and that's where he called me and says, hey, I won't be needing you anymore. So I appreciate your time. The pivotal moment to this, though, which I'll finish the story with, is that I had sent him and Beth at the time a letter. I sent them a letter and a video. I sent them a video saying, hey, thank you for your time in coaching and being a part of REVA. I wish you guys nothing but the best and success, and thank you for everything that you taught me. I wrote Bob and Beth also a letter, and I wrote at the end of the letter, I said, hey, Bob, you and I one day will be business partners. If you fast forward 6 months and we're business partners. And I don't know if that's just fate, if that's putting it out in the universe. We'd go to lunch every day. We'd collaborate on ideas to help grow the sales at REVA. We would talk about doing deals. So there was always a good camaraderie. And I wrote in the letter, hey, I meant nothing by it. I wanted to help you grow. I wanted to work with you. I appreciate everything you've given to me, right? And letting him know that this didn't come from a place of aggression, that I'm after your business. I wanted to be a teammate. And yeah, I left it out there. I moved on. I did the business on my own from about April to September. I was out there using my real estate license to buy and sell deals, list stuff. And ultimately, when he reached out, I said, hey, this will be great. And it's almost like we never lost the beat, never took it personal. It's business. When someone says no, just accept it and move on.
Love that. Great advice. I know this time, that 6-month time frame that you're addressing there, I remember REVA, Bob, the team, we're doing a lot of cold calling for a lot of our members across the board. And I remember they were having tremendous amount of success with cold calling. And prior to, 2016, 17, 18, and, it really, cold calling was used more from the retail side, sphere of influence and referral type calls and reaching out where, a lot of investors, we were mostly inbound. And I remember there was just this change. Texting and cold calling just took over. And I remember having a conversation with Bob about, hey, we're going to do this, especially because we've got some relationships that we've made here in the Collective Genius that we can start buying in some other areas. I remember that like it was yesterday, not knowing that that was the time frame in which you came on board. I do remember you coming back. I do remember you heading up that business. And all of a sudden, there was this juggernaut that was a service provider, but now is a home buyer, in many, many states at that given time. If I remember correctly, you weren't doing a lot in your backyard. Today, you are, but back then you were buying mostly in areas in which hedge funds, frankly, were buying. And that's kind of where that business really took off really quickly, correct?
Yeah. So when we went into buy mode in 2020 and said, hey, let's really turn this into an organization. We did about, I think it was 54 deals in 2020. It's head down. It wasn't anything spectacular. And that was a mix of retail deals and wholesale deals. And then 2021 came along, and we started doing some novation with a guy in our backyard that had been doing them for years under the radar. He called it real estate, black belt real estate investing. And we're like, wow, this is incredible. Yeah, you can get a deal and transact on it if it's at a tighter margin and still do pretty well. And then we had went down to IMN, right? We went to IMN and we saw Rich and Adam there. And when we talked with them back at the June event in 2021, we talked about them buying some deals from us, and they're like, "Hey, here's our markets. What do you think you guys could do?" I said, "Yeah, we could market out there." We saw them at IMN, sat down, put together a buy box, and then I remember it must have been end of August or September. We started calling in Arkansas. In the first week, we had sold them, I believe it was like 3 or 4 deals. They're like, "We'll take them." We look around our office and we're like, "We're gonna get rich. Like, this is great." And it was fun for a couple months, and then they started to put more parameters in place and guidelines to how they acquired their homes, and it became a little more structured and more challenging to meet their criteria as an investment group and a fund to make sure that their numbers are penciling out. Although we had a really good run with those guys, and we were very thankful for Collective Genius to synergize that relationship between us and their home buying group. And it really helped put us into a better place financially. It helped us get a lot of success and experience under our belt. It built a ton of confidence for our reps and house to say, "Hey, we can do this in a whole different market that we've never been to." No one in our office had been to Arkansas. None of us understood the market other than looking at a map and saying, "All right, here's Bentonville. That's Walmart." We don't know anything else. We don't even know the University of Arkansas. What is it? The Razorbacks, I think. I mean, we knew nothing about it. We got really good though at utilizing our sales skills to buy homes and make sense for those guys. So that really helped us. And we went into other states and we did work with some other funds that weren't in CG, just bigger names that we all know of. And we realized that over time it was with the transpiration of the rates changing and going up, that it was just time to go into our market and just be great where we knew we had the foundation of success.
Well, that foundation built to what you are today, obviously a virtual business. Are you utilizing still some of those same techniques of cold calling? Are you doing any inbound? What's working right now for the business?
Yeah, it's a great question. We run an omni-channel at the end of the day, a variety of different marketing sources, and we've actually shifted from going completely virtual to being in person. So we are going on in-person appointments now, which has been a great opportunity for our newer reps to gain confidence and build rapport. It's very hard to buy a home over the phone. It's much easier to do it in person and get the property at a better price, and most importantly, build trust and rapport with the seller, make them feel great about working with our company. So we also do in-person appointments in our office from time to time. If folks say, "Hey, we want to come check you out, we want to see your outfit," we welcome them in with open arms. We want you to see our company. We want you to see the people here. It gives them peace of mind knowing they're working with the company that they want to work with, and they can go to bed at the end of the night knowing they made the right decision. We still do virtual deals, but we push to do everything that can be face to face. In terms of marketing, mail's been a great channel for us. Obviously, we have REVA Global for our outbound services, and they're fantastic. Again, I always say it, if it wasn't for the relationship with Bob and the marketing that we had, we wouldn't be where we're at today. That really helped rocket launch us off the ground. But we realized that if we want to continue to evolve as a top player, what got us here isn't going to get us there. So we're doing stuff like PPC. We've done commercials, television. Hasn't been the most fruitful, but it's a channel that we constantly toy with. So we're looking into more of the inbound approach to complement the outbound so that we can be a well-rounded machine, if that makes sense.
So I didn't know that you made that switch. I'm glad that you brought that up and would love your, you know, so to dig a little deeper on that change. When did you know that, all right, we're going to go from an outbound model virtual in many, many states? What made that decision to say, you know what, we're going to pull back, we're going to buy homes in our backyard, become a trusted resource in our backyard, and actually do in-person appointments? When did that transition happen, and what made that decision?
We did it little by little back in 2023. So mid 2023, we really focused on Connecticut, Mass, and Northeast PA. And then we realized by having folks come in our office, it built trust. The guys loved that because they didn't have to go drive to an appointment, and we'd still do our inspection on the property. So the guys figure, hey, it's no time off my back. It's no time. I don't have to get in my car and drive out to a property. I could have them come in the office. And then it was like, wait a minute. Let's go out to the property. Let's meet with the seller. That came from having Ramp in the office. So Joe and Kyle came in for the first time back in September. And when I talked to them on the phone, I said, hey, I'm going to tell you two things. We're going to be super humble and we're going to be super vulnerable. Like, you're going to come in here and break us down. We do not want you to sugarcoat it. We want you to absolutely coffee black, steaming hot, dump it on us. And that's what they did. And it was really cool because when you get to hear it from the experts and your coaches, coaches only work if you apply what they tell you to do and you implement. So we implemented and we saw the results, and we had a great month in September when they came in, and that was also half the battle, to say, hey, when things are going good, now's the time to really lift the hood up. Because things are going good, let's keep them going good. It's not, hey, sit back and celebrate. It's, all right, hey, we're having success. Let's diagnose now how to maintain and keep this success. And there were some changes made in the last 3 months. By making some of the changes, we let go of some people, and we didn't finish so great. But by doing that, it propelled us forward to we just had a great best January in company history. And we believe it comes from making those changes. And yeah, it's not easy to make change. That's why it's called change. But by making the change, it allows to put you forward for the future. And that's what we're looking at as PerchRock, is where are we going to be in 2, 5, and 10 years, not just the next quarter, the next month. So that's really helped us a lot to make that jump to going in person versus virtual.
Very wise words there, Adam. All too often, especially in 2020, 2021, we saw a lot of people having extreme success selling to funds like you mentioned earlier. And some of those same businesses are no longer in business because those funds stopped buying. They put all their eggs in one basket, did not work on the change that was going to be needed to sustain that type of business, because that was not a normal market. I love that. That's such wise advice for those that are listening. What's the biggest lesson? Because this is something that we get quite often, Adam. I get this with people that I'm talking to that are coming in new to the community, that are making that transition from virtual to in person, because it's almost, some people have success with it still in multiple states. They're really good at it, and that's their model. That's their one thing, like you mentioned earlier. You had to have some lessons learned there, some good things happen, some lessons, some bad things, obviously, that you had to work through. What were some of the biggest challenges and the lessons learned in that transition?
Adaptation. It's getting your team to get behind that, especially the guys that are really good on the phone at acquiring virtually. Now, to this day, like I mentioned, we still do deals virtually, but for every deal that you do virtual that you don't get signed, or you try to buy virtually, and that seller, that homeowner, meets with somebody face to face in the living room, who do you think's getting that contract if it comes down to rapport? If that person in that living room knows how to connect, they're likely coming away with that agreement at a better price. I mean, we've lost deals because of that, because hey, we went and we bought it too high. I mean, your fallout rates increased, your ability to build rapport diminishes. Even if you're a great communicator and you can have the best phone sales skills, you still are avoiding that face-to-face interaction. So you really need to have that adaptation to take a step back, reflect, look at it from outside the box, and say, what do we gain by doing this, and what is there to lose? And there was nothing really to lose. Sure, some people may not like it. They may not be happy with the change. We did watch some people end up making some decisions to depart, which was fine. It helped grow our company. But ultimately, it takes a change. If you're a creature of habit and you wake up every day and have your cup of coffee and then go on your morning walk, and then all of a sudden that changes, that's going to impact you. And it impacts everybody differently on how they handle those effects. But for us as a company, it was a very vulnerable moment to say, all right, how many of these agreements did we lose, not just in the last 6 months or year, but the last 2 or 3 years, that we decided, hey, we didn't have to go on that appointment. The seller wasn't serious. Oh, was it that they weren't serious, or that we didn't do a good enough job because we didn't give them what they were looking for? At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what PerchRock wants. It matters what the seller wants. They're the consumer. It's not us. And if we can't satisfy the consumer's need and meet their expectation, somebody else will. And that is where that competitiveness comes in to say, hey, you got to go the extra mile. You just got to go in front of them.
The professionalism that the businesses within the collective genius, it's easy to get that across when I have answers like that, Adam. That I've seen this for many years within the collective genius, but I'm starting to see it more from an application standpoint. It used to be all about me, and now I'm seeing a trend, which I'm so happy to see, that we've gone from this investor look down upon to these people really understand my issues that I'm having, are willing to come in and help. I'm starting to see that transition, and it makes me smile because of the professionalism, the transition that I'm seeing, the professionalism within the space. I've seen it for a long time with operators in this group, but now I'm starting to see it outside. Even some of those that are the social media people that you see a lot. You even see those messages changing from Lambos to taking care of and solving people's problems, which makes my heart happy. Perfect segue makes me that makes me happy on a daily basis. Like when you're a competitive person, man, you're a former hockey player. Um, you got a bunch of pros that are there in the office, former professional hockey players. What makes your group, like on the best day, your happiest win?
What makes our happiest win is cohesiveness, right? It's together, everyone achieves more, right? The definition of team. And rising tide raises all ships, and A players want to play with A players. And it just goes back to the beginning of time. People want to be around and do business with people they know, like, and trust. And the same goes for being on a team. And if you look at the greatest teams from the professional circuit all the way down to minor pro, to college, to high school, there is a commonality amongst the cohesiveness and how those teams are able to play within synchrony and orchestration together. You look at some of the best lines in hockey, best teams in football, basketball, baseball. There's a camaraderie there, right? They love to go and be in the locker room. We call it the locker room here. That locker room mentality where you look to the person to your right and to your left, and you know that if they get down, or if something doesn't go right, or if they're dealing with a battle or a challenge in the deal, that the guy to your right and your left, your stallmate, has your back. And that's the coolest thing, is knowing that we're a team here. And if it's not just talked about, it's displayed through action. We win together, we lose together, we have fun together, we get better together, we learn. That's what it's all about. And it's fun to come in every day and chop it up and break stones with these guys, and know that, hey, I might break your stones 1 minute, and then the next minute we're working on closing a deal together. So it just makes for a very genuine environment, especially in today's world, where there's a lot of acting that goes on, especially in the corporate America place of employment, is that you're expected to be someone that they want you to be, rather than adapting and finding that avatar to fit your culture, right? You can't, I don't believe in drinking the Kool-Aid. I do believe, though, in finding the right fit and not the best fit, because if we find the right fit, they ultimately become the best person. So that's the biggest win, is being in a group amongst like-minded individuals.
Genuine culture. The word that you used there was genuine. I think it's so important to pull that out of your answer there, because there's a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs that are in this space that are listening to this right now that were former athletes that missed the locker room. And I'm here to tell you that Adam is a perfect example that you can recreate that culture that you miss from college sports, high school sports, wherever level you played at. And that's your faith. That's how you want to build a business. You get that opportunity to do that, if that's how you want to build the business. And these guys have done that at a very high level and established a culture. And to your point, that of what you just said there, you attract, like, you will attract those individuals that want to be a part of the locker room culture that you have built there. And you'll continue, like, as you said, you might not always get the best candidate for that position, but you're going to get the best candidate for your team, which is super important, because all-star teams very rarely win at any team sport. NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. It's very rare that you have just a bunch of all-stars at every single position. If there's not a defined culture, I'll take culture over skill any single day. Now, and some people will argue that. In fact, I've argued that on a few other podcasts as well, but I've seen it. I've seen a bunch of teams that are together beat a bunch of teams that are much more skilled. I've just seen it too many times to not believe that, and love what you guys are doing there. What's next? You guys have obviously made some changes, virtual, in person, many states, mostly New England now. What's next for PerchRock?
Good question. It's just get better every day, right? It's continue to lean into your coaches, lean into the folks that specialize in the areas that we're not so great at or where we need to improve on. Continuing to be students, right? Being open-minded, humble, and vulnerable each time we have a consultant or a service provider from Collective Genius inside of PerchRock to help us get better. We're having fun every day, right? We want to continue to do this. This is more than just income. This is what keeps us alive. It drives us forward. It gives us those competitive juices to put into existence. We just want to continue to push forward, and we love waking up every day to make money and compete with folks that are like-minded in our office. It is a pleasure. You think about some of the times in your life where you weren't so happy and you were working with people that might have been bringing you down. Like, we don't have that here. So we want to continue to preserve that and then exploit that within the preservation because it's rare, right? You want to wake up and be positive and push the needle and do one more, right? It's at the gym saying, all right, you're good. You did the best you could versus, come on, one more. You want to push that. And we have that and we're privileged, but we know that the rent is due every day on it. So we're just trying to get better every day, keep our head down, stay humble, and learn from those that have been there and can help us continue to just push that needle one bit more.
Got me ready to run through a wall. Last question, my friend. You referenced Ramp and you've referenced Collective Genius and what has, the relationships that you've built over the years. What has it meant to you? I want to share that experience as much as you possibly can with the listeners that maybe not a part of this community today.
Yeah, I always say if you want to run fast, run by yourself. If you want to run far, run with a team. And Collective Genius is a team because all these service providers came through the team at CG, right? We work with Sharper, we work with Ramp, we work with Steve Trang, we've worked with CRM providers, we've worked with plenty of different people, lead providers. There's so many people that I mentioned that I didn't mention that we have worked with inside of Collective Genius, right? Bateman, Stephanie Betters. There's so many different great operators, and they all came through the Collective Genius organization. You're crazy not to be a part of something like that in 2026. Anybody that wants to aspire to go from 5 to 20 deals, 20 to 50, 50 to 100, you get there by having an alliance and people that know more, have done more, have been through the trenches, and they just want to help you out. Good go-giving people that check their ego at the door like you guys talk about at every event. And again, if it wasn't for Collective Genius and a lot of these relationships that we've built through there, we wouldn't be where we're at today. And again, that's just humbly speaking because we've put ourselves in the room with those folks. And then from there, it's what you do with it. And I even look at it. The folks that have been in CG the longest are some of the most successful people. And I just look around in the room, and it's so humbling to look at guys like you got Gigi Holmes, you got Integrity First. They're just incredible operators. Like when you see them go on stage and then they open up their doors to let you in their business, you're like, what a privilege that is. So, yeah, I think the group will do far more to anybody than they can even imagine when first signing up. If they were to just try to foresee what that looks like from 2-4 years down the road, it's something they never would have imagined because of the environment they put themselves in. So Collective Genius is definitely pivotal for us and the members that we've been able to connect with over the years. It means a lot, really does.
Well said, my friend. There's in what you were saying there, as you were talking about all the different service providers that have helped your business. All I think about is we were talking about culture earlier and who you attract. Like not one of those individuals that you mentioned wasn't referred to us by other members saying, hey, this person is really helping me. I know they can help Adam, or they can help another member within the group. They need to be in the room. That's the culture that has been built. Is these are people that can help. They've helped me tremendously grow my business. I want to share them with the rest of the community. And almost every single one of those people that you mentioned was someone at some point text an introduction to me saying, this person should be in this group because I know they can help. Love that those the two stories are have a lot of synergy in them of building the right culture, and you have good people that join a team like yours and obviously join a community like ours. Thanks so much for that, man. I appreciate it. And then finally, if people want to reach out to you, if they're curious, want to learn more, maybe they're that referee that just wants to get to know Adam a little bit and pick your brain a little bit and see if there's opportunities there in the future for them. How would they do that?
Yeah, you can reach out to me, Adam at PerchRock, PerchRock.com. That's my email. You can fire me a message anytime. Happy to help anybody out. You can find me on Instagram at the Adam Devine, ADAMDEVINA. And again, don't be shy. Reach out. Happy to help anybody that has any questions, wants to reach out for any insight. Always happy to be a resource and pay it forward.
No doubt about it. There's someone that should pay it forward. It's you. I mean, obviously, it took you to go up to a coach that was cursing you to get to this spot that you're at. It took your initiative, but obviously that initiative led to where we're at today. Congratulations on all your success and everything that you do within this community, my friend. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Leon. We appreciate you guys as well.
Awesome. Guys, if you want to be in the community like Adam mentioned earlier, where people help you, literally help you by opening up their doors, showing you the blueprints of success. Adam has seen it for many years now, and everyone that we have on this podcast is willing to help you as being a part of this community. The easiest way to find out if it's the right fit for you is to go to explorecg.com. There you'll find an application. There's a video there to explain everything about the different tiers, but you're a full-time real estate investor. There's definitely is, and you have a go-giving heart. We have a community and a tier that's available to you where you're at this time. This was another great episode. Adam, thanks again as my guest. Always appreciate the conversation. Look forward to the next one. And I look forward to seeing you next week on the Collective Genius Podcast.
New episodes every week. To learn more, visit explorecg.com, where real estate investors come to scale.